Hello, my name is Cathy Meskel, and I am the founder of Support Our Soldiers Foundation. And I would like to share with you my mission of supporting our soldiers and explain to you why that we have done 8 monuments, and we just finished one more, the USS Liberty. The main question that I get asked for years and years and years is, why do you do this? So we're standing right here in front of the Vietnam War Monument. This is basically where my heart and my joy started with supporting our soldiers. When I was 11 years old, I got a POW bracelet. Back in the day, you paid $1 and you got a POW bracelet. My bracelet, as you can see right down here, was Captain Lance Saigon. He was shot down 11/6/1962. And for whatever reason, I never took that bracelet off for 4 years. And mind you, I was 11. I was 11 years old. For whatever reason, the only thing I can tell you is God put it on my heart. So as an adult, I just grew up and I still watched, anything that with the wars or the military. I remember as a child sitting in front of the TV, watching Walter Cronkite, looking at the Rocky Mountain News and the Denver Post, searching for Captain Saigon, and his name never came up, which was really sad. Long story short, he drug himself through the jungle for 45 days, eluding captivity. He finally was captured, and on January 22nd, he died in captivity. So this man had such determination, and it just impacted me. So as a child of 11 years old, wearing the POW bracelet for 4 years, again, God put it on my heart, and that has been my mission. Pretty much my whole life is to support the militaries. And as you can see on this monument, it says, "Welcome home." And as we all know, the Vietnam veterans did not have parades or any hoopla when they got home. They were treated very, very badly. And that has also had an impact on me. I own an RV park here in Cedar at Shady Creek, and one day I saw a fella come in and he had a fifth wheel, and he had the dog handler ribbon on his truck. And I said to him, "Sam, I didn't realize that there was dogs in Vietnam." And he said yes. And so 3.5 hours, he told me his entire story about Vietnam, the dog handling. I said, "Sam, what is it? What is it that you wish people would say to you?" He goes, as this man is crying, tears going down his face, he looks at me, goes, "Cathy, I just wish people would say, 'Welcome home.'" So from that moment going forward, all these years, whenever you see a Vietnam veteran, especially a Vietnam veteran, walk up to that man and go, "Welcome home, sir," and turn around and walk off. Leave the "thank you for your service" off, because welcome home to these men in Vietnam says everything, and it will change their lives. And if you go to our website, supportoursoldiersfoundation.org, we have all of the oral history about each one of these monuments, and you just hit the QR code and it'll tell you exactly about the war, as much information as we could possibly get, and it'll show you all the monuments that we've done. And not that this one is any or more important than any of the other wars, it just touched my heart because as an 11-year-old child with the POW bracelet, it impacted my life for 55 years. I'd like to share about the monument World War II. And the reason I'm explaining this one is because it is of one person that lived here, Art Lindsay. He lived here. He was a tail gunner in World War II. He was shot down 3 times in the North Sea. And he is the reason why these monuments are here. He passed away 3 years ago on October 10th. And I would drive by his house. That's one of the prominent houses here in Cedar Ridge. And I just looked at his house, and really there was no anything of honor that I could tell. And it really touched my heart and hurt my heart that nothing was put up in his honor as a veteran of World War II. So one day I was driving by, and it was 2 days before Veterans Day. And I just was so sad. So I put up a flag on his fence, and I put his picture up. And I told his story, and I said, "Art was my friend." So the flag and the picture of Art was up for about 3 months, and his neighbor had brought it back and said it had been up long enough. And I just was very sad about that. So as I was driving by his house 3 years ago, I looked at his house, and I'm driving by, and I just looked at it and I said, Art, there's nothing I can do. I sat there with tears rolling down my face, and I said, I think I'll make a monument. And I made a monument. And it was to World War II, and now we've done 9. So in 3 years, we've made 9 monuments, which I think is pretty extraordinary. And on this one, Art is depicted up here. And when you go to the website, like I explained to you, supportersoldiersfoundation.org, it'll tell all of the history, especially on this one, because there's 4 people that lived in our community that are represented on this monument, which is a really cool thing. So Art Lindsay had an impact on my life. The idea was inspired by Art Lindsay, and for that I'm grateful. And these monuments are to honor all of our veterans. This one is We Honor Our Veterans. This actually was the first monument that we made, and this was made 2.5 years ago. And this represents the Veterans Creed, and as you can tell, it's a very impactful. The word says everything, and every veteran says this, and they mean it from their heart. And most people don't know that I am not a veteran. I'm not related to anybody that was a veteran. It's just that important to me, because people go, who in your family was a veteran? Nobody. Why do you do this? I explained earlier why I do it, because it's important. And when you read this and you think about all these veterans and what they've done so we can have the freedom to do what we want to do in our country. And for me, a simple person, to make monuments, that's a pretty powerful thing to do. Most of the monuments here, they do have coins on the top. And as a veteran comes here, they put the coin one way or the other. And I've experienced veterans coming here, and there's so many stories about veterans that I've met over the years. And back in the day when the Gulf War started and Iraq War started, my best friend and I, Sharon, we just went, I think we'll tie yellow ribbons down the whole entire main street of Rifle, which was all of Railroad Avenue, and it was quite long. So we decided to be covert, and we dressed in black. Everything we had was black. And we started tying yellow ribbons on every tree, every light pole, and everything. So we get down maybe a half a block. Sharon's across the street by the fairgrounds in Rifle, and she goes, Cathy, it's the cops. We're going to be in trouble. So we both walk up, and here's this police officer, and he goes, so, what are you ladies doing? And I said, we're on a mission from God, Operation Yellow Ribbon. Tie ribbon till they all come home. And I told him my whole story, and he's still sitting in his police car. And I looked at him, and I said, are you going to arrest us? And the police officer was so moved by what we were doing. He looks at me and he goes, I'm a Gulf War veteran. You ladies carry on. And I can tell you and assure you, those yellow ribbons never came down the main street of Rifle for 7.5 years. We would replace them every 2 months, all through the winter. And here in Cedar Ridge, for 13 years now, Taps plays from the top of my house right here in town, and you can hear it for a mile. And now it's the identity of Cedar Ridge, and I'm really proud of that. So when you think about just those little things that people do, it makes such a difference. And furthermore, after we started doing the yellow ribbons, I started sending boxes to all of the soldiers over serving in Iraq. So over the last probably 15 to 18 years, I probably sent maybe, good guess, 7,000 to 8,000 boxes and letters, and the responses that I've gotten back are just absolutely incredible. And I'm explaining this because it's important to explain why this is so important to me. I would get letters back from these men that would say, yours is the only letter I've gotten. You're the only one that has contacted me. And it just brings a little bit of joy and light to their, I'm sure, horrible situations. And the most that I've ever done is I filled 12 carts, 12 to the top, of fun that I would put in these boxes, and I could stuff about 20 items, and I would send bubblegum, Tootsie Roll Pops, dice, games, anything that would bring joy to a soldier that was serving over there that wasn't getting any kind of support. And the letters I've gotten back were absolutely amazing. And I think it's just important that those things are known. A letter change somebody's whole entire outlook, and maybe it just gave them a little bit of hope until they can get home. And I heard people's stories about their families, their children, their pets, their wife, kind of sort of where they were and the conditions. I had a lady write me. She goes, "Do you know how hot it is in Iraq? Let me tell you, open the oven door and put your head in it, and it's that hot. My coffee is colder than the temperature outside." And when you think of those things, you just have to be so grateful and thankful. And one night, it was after Thanksgiving, one of my friends were out tying the ribbons with me, and her son was over in Iraq, and she's going, "Brr, brr, brr, I'm cold, I'm cold, I'm cold, my hands are cold, we should stop." And I looked at her and I said, "You know what? You just need to go home." I said, "My soldiers are sitting over in Iraq freezing their ass off, and you're cold and you can go home to a ward bed. I'll do this by myself." Needless to say, she shut her mouth and we finished the job. So I mean, there's just so many stories, and everybody that I've contacted that just has changed my life. As a non-veteran, my veterans have changed my life. Honoring the fallen, this monument is really probably one of the most impactful ones. They all are, and it's because we're honoring the fallen. Goodbyes are not forever. Goodbyes are not the end. They simply mean, I'll miss you until we meet again. When you look at these battlefield crosses, that means never forgotten. And so I'm urging all of you, just don't forget. Just don't forget our veterans. Be mindful of them, what they've been through. Have compassion for them, and just be kind. A veteran gives us the opportunity once again, and I said it earlier, we have our freedom because of these veterans.